Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host Nacho. This week I'm joined by my colleagues
Lex
and
RJ.
yes, and this week we are going to be discussing the topic of watch prices. We're going to be asking ourselves the question, what's the deal with watch prices? Before we do that, we're going to take a look at what's on the wrist. RJ,
Talking about watch prices.
what is that? What is that?
What is that?
Oh my God.
What's
a
kind
classic.
of Chinese replica are you wearing?
It's a Breguet Classique, reference 3357.
Oh.
It's a tourbillon.
Mm.
And it's based on the first tourbillon wristwatch that Breguet did in 1988.
Was
The
that with
3350 from Daniel Roth.
Yeah, that's
And
nice.
a few years later in the 90s, he came with this reference, 3357. It's, I think, only a few aesthetical changes. But lovely watch.
It's a good looking watch. We won't mention the price on that
No.
one, I don't think.
Why
It's
not?
worth that. No, it's fine. It's just
If you
What-
have to ask, you can't afford.
exactly.
What I like, it has that very old-fashioned look.
I like it.
It's, it's yellow gold and brown
strap.
alligator.
Yes.
I would change the strap. I think the
Yeah, me
strap,
too.
NATO,
like you
right?
did with yours,
NATO?
not NATO,
Oh.
maybe NATO, maybe the right kind of NATO. No, but I would go with something a little bit.
Like what?
I don't know, brown alligators,
Dark blue or
yeah, dark blue would be
dark
green,
nice,
perhaps,
blue.
with,
Oh,
with
or a
yellow gold.
suede. Dress it down a little bit, tan
You
suede.
can't dress it down.
I'll put a tropic rubber
could
on it
try.
later on.
Tropic
Oh my
rubber.
God.
Yeah.
We should do that actually.
No,
So
I
it's
think,
water resistant to 30 meters.
We'll
so.
never get another Breguet.
Dark green lizard.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
I'll do that. That's nice.
exactly.
They do have lizards in Paris, right?
Probably. I don't know. But what's on your wrist, Lex?
Oh.
Tell us about it.
It's my Omega Speedmaster replica relaunch from, this one is from 2001.
Okay.
But they started making it in 1999.
Very nice.
So, yeah.
Very,
And I
very
put it
nice.
on a, recently, or yesterday even, I put it on this dark brown Fratello perforated strap. And I actually think it looks
nice.
the bomb.
Very nice. That's by done by Atelier Roman for us.
Yeah.
Also a French manufacturer of straps, and it's I agree. It's really good.
Pig with goat, I think,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Something like that.
Pig on the
It's
outside,
goat on the inside. Ah,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
one of
how
those,
I like it. It's like a little bit like me.
Before we get nasty comments, the watch is from was introduced in '97 in the box.
97, of course, not
with
99.
the white box with the 23 Speedmasters.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
1
of
year
course.
later,
Yeah.
98, they sold it separately.
Yeah.
Till 2003.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And there's also a limited edition in gold, a limited run.
Yes, 150 pieces.
Yeah.
And Mark Knopfler from Dice Trades has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sultan of Swing.
Fun
Yes.
fact.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and I'm wearing my Seamaster reference 2254.50.
Ah, you never wear that.
It's been a while actually. I've been trying to not spam it as much as I did last
But
year.
look
so,
at that fashionable matchy
Oh,
It's a
wow.
bit of a
combination.
it's when you go, you better go all in. So that's
Also green shoes.
no, not green
Okay,
shoes.
no.
No. But
Green
okay,
underwear,
but so moving on then from the
Oh.
wrist check into the topic of today's podcast, watch prices.
Yeah.
It's a hot topic of discussion. I believe we often get a lot of comments about it. We often, even in articles where some of our editors, such as Thomas, put a lot of care into sort of going into the topic carefully and with a little bit of finesse. People still get angry about it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot to be discussed here. But RJ, what's your take on watch prices, where they are today, and why people have these sort of adverse reactions?
I think it's not that difficult to explain. A good example is Piaget. I just came back from Piaget and the introduction of the new Polo 79, which has a list price of €81,500. And
With tax.
a lot with tax, yeah, luckily. A lot of people like the watch. We got good comments on the looks of the watch. I think many people were waiting for a proper Polo to be reintroduced. At least it was also always my question when I was visiting Piaget during Watches and Wonders and SIHH. I always ask, when does the real Polo comes back with the engraved lines, the gadroons, as they call it. And now they did, and the price is very high. And that's also the comments. People love the watch, but the price. But I feel that this watch is for those who either have their watches or are a Piaget fan and they just don't care. They just point out the watch and they will buy it. And that's, I think, the bubble where we live in the watch community, basically. Price is very important. The price needs to have some kind of relationship with the product.
Yeah.
For sure.
But for a lot of people that don't have to look at the price because they are well off, they don't care. It's not a topic. It's not a subject for them. They just point out the watch that they want, and that's it. And especially with these types of watches, because I also saw a comment that, for this type of money you can get a day date in yellow gold in 40 millimeters, and you get an extra complication on top. But I think
complication, yeah, but that's really what this.
But I think the people who buy that Piaget or the day date in yellow gold in 40 millimeters, they buy both. They don't care. It's just they want that watch, and that's it.
I also wonder if they see the day date indication as a complication. They just see it as something that is there on the dial.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah. But I feel that so that's one thing. As I think the audience for that watch, but also the audience for the Vacheron 222, the Royal Oaks in gold or in steel. Those buyers or clients are often not very much bothered by the price tag. I was at an event and I spoke to someone, was not in the watch industry, but a guy well off. He asked, and it was just after the introduction of the 222. And he asked me, what's the price of the 222?
Right.
And from the top of my head, I said, 73K.
Something like that.
And he said, 370? Oh, that's okay.
370.
Yes. So I said, no, it's 73. Oh. So that's the mindset. They don't care.
He was also drunk? No.
At that point, not yet. But no, but I feel it's not a subject for, I think, for the clientele.
Yeah.
But I get it for watch people and watch enthusiasts like us. It's a topic because there needs to be some connection. Yeah. And perhaps in the past there was. I see that old catalog there. But today, I think there's not really a connection anymore between the cost price of a watch and the retail price. It's a luxury product.
Yeah. That's the big difference. Yeah. I think it went from a tool that could be used by people and by a necessity because there was no other way to truly keep time in those days. Now everybody has a phone in their pocket. And so now it has shifted into a different category of.
But it even shifted in my opinion, it even shifted into a new state.
Yeah.
Even I mean, after the quartz crisis, it's an emotional product.
Sure.
Traditional values, artisanal craftsmanship, blah blah, this and this and this. Now I have the idea that for a large audience, that aspect is no longer needed or valued. They are way more into the, it looks luxurious. I've seen it online. It represents a certain lifestyle. Right. I have money to spend. I will just buy it. I'm very, very, I wonder if a large, or it's not a large group because they're going to make 79 of these polos.
At least at first, to make 79, yes.
But I wonder how many of those 79, because it's probably going to sell out.
Yeah, within minutes, I think, when it becomes available.
I wonder how many people of that 79 actually know about the history of the watch, care about the history of the watch, and just recognize it as something that is en vogue nowadays because it is sporty, it's gold, it is kind of integrated, so it also vaguely looks like a Nautilus and a Royal Oak and what have you. So it is also just an object that kind of fits the fashion of today.
Sure.
And if you can afford it, hey, the looks are cool, you go for it.
It's also a little bit provocative, I guess, because that was also the case with the Royal Oak in 72. It was, I don't know, 10 times as expensive as a Rolex Submariner, and it was also a steel watch.
And it was even promoted like that.
Yeah, it was like a sales pitch, basically.
Yeah.
That it was so expensive. And so I asked Piaget, the CEO, if that was also their case, that they made it 81K just to be a little bit provocative to get. And he said, no, it's the construction of the watch is really expensive. And he was talking about it, but I guess the production of the watch is expensive, but then there's still a disconnect, of course, between the cost of the product and, let's say, also on top all the costs of the marketing, yada yada yada, and so on, and the retail price. There's no connection anymore.
No, there is no
and that
connection.
is fine.
No, but still, the brand needs to create a product that is of the highest possible quality.
Yes.
Because if they don't do it, they will get burned anyway.
Yeah. There was I think that's not really the discussion. The only discussion with that watch is the balance wheel. That it was Itachron. In an in-house movement.
But that's a perfect example of how two worlds are now so far apart. The world in which the watch fan lives, who still believes that this Speedmaster is 3,950 Deutschmark. And a world where people have money to spend on luxury items, whether it's bags, shoes.
Two worlds collide.
That's a world. And hey, I looked at the movement and I saw the micro rotor, and they probably it's an in-house movement, right? They make it in La Côte aux Fées, I think.
It's a beautiful movement,
and it's a beautiful movement, and none of the 79 buyers are going to.
They will not be bothered by that fact.
No, will not be bothered by the ETA balance wheel.
I don't think
that is a very typical watch nerd kind of approach, which is great. I mean,
no, it's fine. I mean, I also have to look at prices of watches, and for me, it's very important that there's some kind of it needs to make sense. But for me, it needs to make sense for me,
for sure.
Yeah.
If I can explain to myself that a watch is 20K because it's super nice, but perhaps it's really a 10K watch, and that's it.
It was an interesting comment that actually I think it was Morgan who brought it up yesterday in the office, and he said, well, looking at the price of the Polo and looking at a price of a full gold Speedmaster, he said, well, the Speedmaster is as much gold, if not more, and to him it's a more appealing watch, and price wise we're talking half.
Yeah.
So
but the gold price has nothing to do with it.
No, exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing. You can't kid yourself.
It's also kind of interesting. So the gold price has nothing to do with the price of the
gold watch. Speedmaster, you're still getting a great movement. You're still getting a great watch, a great bracelet, and a whole lot of gold.
No, but also the Speedmaster in gold now, I don't know, 45K.
Yeah.
And when it was introduced, it was the one that I have was 32K.
Yeah.
It's the same watch.
It was a tool watch back then.
Yeah, but it's basically it's 5 years ago.
That also
you also buy into something exclusive, and I think that's the price tag of gold. Course. And of course, the gold price is super high today.
Yeah,
but still, it was always the case that the gold version of a steel watch was like, I don't know, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times the price.
For sure.
And that doesn't make sense. But
it buys you also an entrance ticket to the next level. That's also what it is. Yeah. You get into another group of people.
But how about if we, because that's a good example of high end, right? So what about when we look at, for example, we were looking at these catalogs, and we were looking at prices of watches like your Speedmaster or my Seamaster, for example, which, sorry.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say about it.
Sure, of course.
Just it popped in my mind, is that people don't have this price issue, for example, with the Nautilus. The Nautilus, well, that's a bad example because it's not really, I think, for sale anymore. They pulled them from the website.
You have the 58, let's say
the
white gold.
The 16202.
Okay.
It's 30-something K, 37, 38K, I don't know.
35.
People don't complain as much about that. And that price is already ridiculous. Because when I bought that watch, the 15202, when I bought it, the retail price was 14K in 2009 or something.
Right.
And a few years later, it was like 25K for exactly the same watch. And now it's 37K for a slightly different watch, but more or less the same watch. And people don't complain because the watch on the market is much more expensive.
Yeah.
You have to pay, I don't know, 50 or 60K for that watch on the market. Yeah. And I feel that 80K for the Piaget, it's so expensive and it is ridiculous. And I get that. But it's also because they say, if I wait a few years, I might be able to pick it up for 40 or 50K on the pre-owned market.
Sure, unless they keep it very limited, and then they will. If you see one on the pre-owned market, which will be quite unlikely with 79 of them,
because how come
they will be way higher than retail?
The Piaget is ridiculous at 80k, but the Royal Oak at 37 or I don't know 30 something Ks. Okay, and that's a steel watch.
Yeah, that's also that's also of course the gray market influence.
Definitely, definitely, and it applies also to, like we were saying, the sort of not low end, but like to more accessible watches such as a Seamaster or a Speedmaster.
But I still have one more point to make on the Polo
Go ahead,
as well.
go
Because
ahead.
I was also thinking we were kind of touching upon the subject when I saw the re-edition of the Polo. What I see is also something incredibly lazy, because when you look at from a watch journalist perspective, you want a company to put out models that are innovative, that are evolutionary, etc., and do something. Okay, they kind of didn't succeed with the previous iteration of the Polo, because that is just a
bit of an Emperador.
Emperador, but it also looks a lot like some other stuff that is made in that same area.
Aquanautisch.
Ambition aquanautisch. So you also kind of want a brand like Piaget, which is known for its creativity. Look at their ultra plats. They've done some great designs, and now they return to this. Yeah, it's a blatant 1980s watch. So I see it, and as you said, it was executed brilliantly. And hey, that's what they do. They have the skills.
No, so they had the vintage ones at the event from the 1979 and the 80s,
probably compared to the new ones.
And then the new one has a huge difference in feel.
Yeah. So that's nice, but at the same time, I also kind of feel a sort of disappointment in, oh my God, that's just another brand that sees no other opportunity than to put out something that is so retro.
I agree, but if you look at, so I agree with you.
Same with the 222.
I agree with you.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you look at the top 10 best-selling watches on Chrono 24, for example, it's all classics.
Yeah,
so that's what the people want. Apparently.
It's definitely what the people want. But if you look at the evolution of the watch industry itself, it's a bit of a shame that we just can't seem to move forward.
But I also have to say I'm also like that because I like my classics, and I think it's also you wear a wristwatch. You don't have to wear a wristwatch, so you wear a wristwatch because of some nostalgic reasons. So it's nice to have a watch from the 50s or the 60s. And if you want to have a modern one, it's nice that it looks timeless.
Yeah.
It looks 50s and 60s, but we say, oh, it's timeless, or 70s even these days. I think it's a nostalgic feeling that you're buying into.
Of course. Hey, they've clearly listened to the market and analyzed
because
the market.
Modern,
of course,
there are modern watches. Look at Linde Werdelin, for example. They made very modern looking watches like 10, 12 years ago. But
which at that time kind of worked. But now we're in a different mindset. And
same for Hublot, of course. They modernized the look of the Royal Oak, or the Royal Oak, basically.
Yeah, the offshore.
With their big bang. And I think it's... at that time, people were also a little bit complaining.
Yeah.
But it was a
and even Hublot, of course, did recognize the retro hype by going for the classic fusion, which is also kind of retro
of the MDM.
Of course, it's a 1980s retro, but still. Anyway,
going back to prices.
About the catalog.
Going back to prices, that's also the interesting thing is you can look at a product how it was, right? Pre-owned price today. Price in the catalog back in the day, and then you can look at its modern equivalent in the current brand's catalog, right? So, for example, this was how much you said it in Deutsche Mark before.
This is in it was on
1999.
Leather, it was 3750, so 3750 Deutsche Mark.
So you have to divide by exactly 2 for euros back then. The conversion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and you're a mathematical
so 1800
prodigy.
Something,
So something
euro.
Okay.
I checked the price for the 2254. It was around 1500. So that was obviously back then. You look at those prices today and you think, well, that's
but I think you have
pretty good.
I think the easiest way to have a look at it is what was the average salary back in that because we're talking 20 years ago.
Sure.
And what's the average salary?
I had a salary then.
Average, exactly. Average salary today, so you can get a bit of a feel.
Yeah.
I think Gerard did a really nice write up on the website.
Yeah, for sure.
About
We'll link to
prices
that
back then and now. So there's inflation included and so on and so on. But for me, what is also important, the quality of the watches changed tremendously from 20 years ago to now. Not with the Speedmaster Professional, because they kept it as is, but that's the exception.
I think this is kind of amazing that it's that old. That this is a what is it, 23-year-old watch by now. It doesn't feel like a 23-year-old watch.
No,
not at all.
No.
And of course, if you get the modern Speedmaster Professional also with the
so only 3 years ago they updated the movement, the case design, and so on and so on.
And it's better, of course, it's better. But my God,
I think this is a better example. Your 300M.
So with the 300M, there's a lot of improvement, right? It's you get then the ceramic, you get the coaxial movement. It's a lot more. This is an ETA movement, so it's still a great watch. But I think that the modern one, of course, offers quite a lot. But then you have to kind of look at the discrepancy between I bought this for around 3,000, and I think the current price for a Seamaster on steel is 6.5,
something like that.
6.4, 6.6, something like that. And so then you have to say, well, is all that innovation? And of course, it's a new watch. Is it worth that sort of paying double for? And it's an interesting thing, right? Because it's people sort of who have been into watches long enough reference a certain timeline and have certain prices in their mind, and then they look at the prices today, and they kind of there's this sort of you can't quite grapple with the fact that, oh my God, the Seamaster costs this much.
Omega is a good example because they turned into a luxury brand.
Sure.
Or they want to turn a luxury. Let's say they turned into a luxury brand, and that also comes with a premium price tag. Justified or not, I mean that's a different discussion. But their positioning also changed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, what I like about Omega, or at least they have this constant innovation of movements and constant innovation of materials. So at least with there's the coaxial, the meta certificate. They're really doing something. So what I like about Omega is that at heart they're still a watch brand.
Yeah,
I sometimes question their luxury designs, but that's also the charm of Omega. Is that deep down it's a nerdy watch brand,
right?
which is kind of cool.
So, and talking about nerdy watch brands, another good example is like Sin.
Oh yeah,
from Frankfurt in Germany. That they used to be like very much of a spec-driven watch.
Yeah,
you got these and these specifications. This is the price, and that's it. There was hardly any luxury feel to it. It was just a lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah.
But they also doubled their prices.
Yeah. And they've started dabbling with sort of dials with special finishing and this bronze gold material and things like
still,
this. So.
I think we are of the opinion that they offer a lot of watch for the price tag still today.
Yeah. Sure.
So if you are looking for, and I think there's a big audience out there, also on Fratello, but also on a watch audience that they really want the most for their money. And I think those people turn away a little bit more from luxury brands and go to brands like Sin. And
do you think that audience is going the way of the dodo, or is that an audience that will always be there? The
will always be there.
Spec-driven watch fans.
I think the brands will turn away. Like Grand Seiko used to be a lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah.
And I think it still is. But we also saw that they improved their movements. So now they have the 9R and 9A movements. And they are now approaching 10K, some of the models.
Yeah, definitely.
In the past, you could buy for 5K. You had the Snowflake, for example, the Grand Seiko. And there was a lot of bang for the buck. And now they doubled the prices. And the change is the movement, basically. And that's... So I think they will lose perhaps that audience that is really spec-driven.
Yeah.
But then there's a plethora of other brands out there that supply in that.
Is the difference between a watch that offers you the sort of value for what you pay, like Sin or I suppose Oris had that reputation.
Fortis.
Fortis, brands like this. Even Omega, potentially, back in the day. And Rolex at some point, perhaps. I mean...
Well, I think we've come to the point with all the prices that I feel if you can get a Rolex for retail price, it's actually quite good.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a
But is the difference between a brand like that and a luxury brand just the fact that at some point the price stops making sense to the people who are trying to justify the price in terms of what you get out of it?
Yeah.
Is that? Do you think that that's the like sort of de facto sort of differentiating factor?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
So you could and then you have watch brands that charge luxury prices, but then their image is not up to the right luxury level, and then it becomes difficult. I really like Oris,
right?
But I also kind of fear a little bit for Oris because their prices are reaching luxury levels, but is Oris luxury? So you could of course say, of course, it is a luxury if you can afford if you buy a mechanical watch and everything. Yeah. But to modern standards, modern luxury standards, if you see what people consider luxury now, if you look at the prices for fragrances, for sunglasses, look at those luxury items. Yeah. The prices of those for like a pair of designer jeans. Whoa, the Dior onderbroek is a
Dior underpants, 1,100.
Yeah, 1,100 euros. I mean,
and
that's half an Oris.
And fountain pens, I collect them.
Yeah.
It's they doubled their like Mont Blanc. The prices are doubled, and also collectors now. Some collectors refer to them as writing instruments, and I think that's exactly where it goes wrong. It's a pen. Yeah. And as soon as you start calling writing instruments, you add this luxury kind of layer to it.
You also fell into the marketing.
Exactly.
But there's certain items like this, right? Like a DuPont lighter or something like this, where it used to be a tool. It was a tool.
DuPont lighter was always expensive.
Well, but you know what I mean? A pair of Ray-Bans at one point was something you could buy at a gas station, right? Like way back in the day. And it's now sort of it's
for me it's also the ratio, because I like Santoni shoes. I mean, I'm not wearing them today, but I love them. If I buy a normal pair of dress shoes, it's that brand. I'm very loyal.
Yeah.
Not loyal.
And I think they now, I don't know, 600-700 euros for a pair, which is a ridiculous amount. But Santoni also makes straps. And a Santoni strap is what, 300-400 euros?
Yeah,
and then compared to the pair of shoes, that's ridiculous.
You get a whole shoe for
It's like a monk strap. You have already half of the strap there on your shoe. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, but I think shoes are actually a very good example, because I'm more a Church's guy. But I was at a Church's boutique the other day, and I have said farewell to Church's because it doesn't make any sense. Right. I have these shoes that I found them after a long search for a discount. It was 350 euros. The same shoes are in the store are approaching 1,000.
But this is
And this is also what you kind of see in the watch industry.
Yeah, so this is also, I think, a key
because
point.
The watch industry follows the fashion industry.
Exactly. And I think this is a key point, because that should be the concern of many brands. When is our audience, the watch buyers, when is our audience disconnecting from our watch brand?
Yeah.
And that's a tricky one, because at some point there's a break-off. And like with Oris is a good example. In the perception of people, Oris is that brand around 2K, let's say 2.5K.
Sure. Yeah.
And now it's 4K or a bit more for the Kermit or whatever. And in the perception of people, they say, even if the quality of the watch is there, in the perception, it's not a 4.5K brand. And then they step to, I don't know, Tudor or another brand.
And that brings me back to Piaget. The good thing with Piaget is they were always catering to the jet set. They were always high end. There was a time when there were no steel Piaget watches in the catalog.
Yeah.
So they
because that first Polo was $20,000, which translates into 70,000 today.
Yeah. So the question would then is also like this: when do you reach the point where you've just gone too far? And also, can every single watch brand eventually aspire to become luxury? Can Sin ever be luxury? Can Oris truly ever be luxury? or is that baggage, that history that's there?
I think then
too much.
I think
or
then
is
the
it just a question of time?
Generations,
because the brand name is then the issue, because that will stick to people. Oh, that's like a tool watch, or that's I don't know, a 2,000 euro watch.
Okay,
and then you change it to a 4 or 5K watch, and it doesn't compute with people.
Yeah.
But it's of course easier that if you start a watch brand, that you start at a certain high level and then just do everything you can to reach the stratosphere as soon as you can and be very successful with it. Richard Mille has done it.
Yeah.
But of course they were never affordable. They were always kind of ridiculous, and now they're in the ultra ridiculous regions.
Biver watches.
Biver watch.
They started off strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. That was surprising. Never heard it. Yeah, there was a one-off now.
The one-off recently came out.
But it kind of died down. The whole. It didn't get a very positive reception.
It was a
and
quick
then
start, and now it's moving kind of slowly. But no, but it's an
Mm.
interesting discussion with prices, and obviously it's a bit of a pain point for a lot of people because
actually
yes.
the Biver watch during was it last year? It was last year, right?
It was last year, just before Watches and
Because
Wonders.
I was standing in line to get into Watches and Wonders, and I spoke to one of the suppliers. I'm not going to tell you what part he supplied to the watch, and he said that price was ridiculous.
Okay.
Because and he made good money on supplying some stuff, and he said that price doesn't make any sense.
I think they just make prices up, some brands, and that's fine. That's their right. But
I think the pain point, especially the pain point, especially with our audience, is when you're used to something, you reference something at a certain price point, and then it starts going up, and suddenly you might have a Speedmaster already, and you might say, well, I bought my Speedmaster for this much, and then it might be then a hard to swallow pill to look at it for the current price. And
I think in the end it's a problem or not for the brands.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as people will stop buying their watches, be it Omega, be it Oris, be it Piaget, that's the backfire. And then they will know, oh, we've gone too far. And then I think it's a matter of how can we solve this?
Yeah,
and that's a
Maurice
problem.
Lacroix kind of had to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because that's of course from way back when everybody that was with the whole
watch with the square wheel.
Yeah, there was the whole thing where ITA is not going to supply us anymore. And then all the little brands were scrambling to make manufacture movements. Yeah. And then they just went up and up and up and up and up in price, and then it it's
a bit of. And I think luxury brands, watch brands, they don't get away with it if they lower their prices again for the same watches. I guess that today Tesla owners are not happy.
Yeah, true. That happened with Tesla.
Weird, right?
Yeah. On the other hand, often these cars are brought by the companies or lease cars, so they can't be bothered. But I think it's a thing you rarely see. It rarely works out well.
But it would be a nice change of pace. In 2025, we have price decreases.
But could that be
Rolex decreases its prices by 7%?
Could that then be a tactic to then start offering discounts again in boutiques and ADs and that kind of thing? The discount returns, and that's kind of
a factory discount already.
That's kind of it's a tricky subject, and
discount is not luxury.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, but
that's a very, very good point.
Yeah. Well, it's a tricky topic, right? It's a very multifaceted thing, and perhaps one to revisit in a future episode. Mm-hmm. But today we can wrap things up. We can look at our comment of the week from last week, which comes from.
Did I win? Did I win?
It's not from you, Lex. No, you can keep commenting though. Maybe 1 week it'll be your comment that we pick. But it's from JM Vinagre. I don't know. I think that's in Spanish. It means vinegar in Spanish. So.
Oh.
You know, but he says about our episode on servicing watches, he says that's the hidden cost to collecting that is often overlooked. It's not just about hoarding timepieces. Do right by them, service them at regular intervals, and they'll outlive you. Which is not necessarily what we advised. We advised kind of roll with the punches and service them when you need to. But it's true that it is
a wise man,
something worth considering, and good words. So
what did he
fantastic.
The honorable mention.
The honorable mention, of course. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me for this discussion, and thank you to our listeners and watchers for tuning in. As always, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and of course, tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. See you then.